Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Partnership for Success SEL onboarding for the LECs. My name is Kenesha Dumas, and I am here to help with the technical side of things, including introducing this amazing, valuable tool called the DESSA in today's training. My contact information is listed there. I invite you, especially after this training, to send me a quick communication so that we're able to get you set up and signed in to the Aperture platform to be able to begin using the DESSA in your LEC setting. Of course, I do not do this work alone. My colleague, partner in crime, amazing teammate, Miss Nikki Mills. Her contact information is listed there as well. Please provide any additional support that myself or her are able to provide. We are looking forward and eager to continuing to use our SEL expertise to continue to support you in implementing SEL at your LEC setting. To kick off today's training, we would like to keep you engaged, especially with this beautiful weather that we're having outside. Just take time to reflect on the question below. What are you looking forward to in the transition into the new season of spring? I know for sure I'm looking into longer days, but also warmer temperatures as well. For today's agenda, we'd like to focus on what is the DESA, the purpose behind it, why we use it, but also some healthy habits and tips on using or administering the DESA at your LEC setting. And for today's outcomes, we'd like to focus on introducing the DESA as a tool to utilize and understand during the out-of-school time programming setting, but also to provide guiding methods to navigate and use the Aperture platform. To give a general definition or foundation of the underlying principles of the DESA system, the DESA is a strength-based assessment of behaviors related to social and emotional competence. It's simple, practical, and easy to use, especially because you'll have your SEL Dream Team, including myself and Nikki, behind you to provide any support or assistance needed. It leads to strategies and instruction to support students, highlighting those growth strategies that we talked about in last training, useful and documenting outcomes, but it also meets or exceeds professional standards. And to also dive deeper into what exactly the DESA is, we are going to take a look at a quick video.
Welcome. Today we're going to take a quick look at the DESA Comprehensive SEL System. Social and emotional skills form the basis for how we live our lives, from the way we set goals and accomplish tasks to the way we cooperate in groups. Social and emotional skills are vital to success in school and in life. More state departments of education, school districts, and organizations serving children are recognizing the importance of social and emotional learning. Aperture Education's DESA Comprehensive SEL System is one of the most widely used and recommended tools for assessing social and emotional skills in youth grades K through 12. The DESA system pinpoints social-emotional competence, providing powerful data needed to make important decisions. Whether screening or measuring outcomes, the DESA exceeds professional standards. The system includes a suite of strength-based assessments. Each assessment is psychometrically sound, nationally normed, and standardized to provide the highest quality data. The DESA Mini is a brief yet powerful universal screener that allows educators to rate a student in under 60 seconds. The Mini identifies students at risk of committing behavioral infractions before they occur, serving as a powerful early warning indicator. Sensitive to change and offering reliable data, the DESA Mini is great for universal screening and progress monitoring. The DESA is a 72-item assessment that can be completed by educators and parents. It is directly aligned to the CASEL framework and provides reliable insight in 8 social-emotional domains. The DESA is commonly used to inform delivery of social and emotional learning tools at Tier 1 or Tier 2, as well as measuring the results. The DESA High School Edition is a 43-item strength-based assessment used to measure social-emotional competence of youth in grades 9 through 12. The DESA HSE includes both an adult assessment for educators and parents and a student self-report, providing valuable insight in 8 social-emotional domains. The DESA Second Step Edition was created in partnership with Committee for Children and customized for the Second Step program. The DESA SSE is available for grades K through 5 and designed to be completed by parents and educators to inform and measure the delivery of Second Step. Real-time, multi-level reporting supplies educators and decision-makers valid data on key social-emotional areas. Reporting is available at the individual, group, building, and district levels. Once certain students have been identified as needing instruction, hundreds of growth strategies are available to bolster those skills. Individual, small group, universal, and take-home lessons are available. Foundational practices are also available to help set the groundwork for establishing good social-emotional practices year-round. Strategies can be used as a standalone approach or as a supplement to universal SEL curricula. A robust support portal includes plenty of professional development opportunities and frequently asked questions to help you along the way. Learn more about the DESSA Comprehensive SEL System today by requesting a proposal below or by emailing info@apertureed.com. Gain back important instructional time, reduce behavioral infractions, improve academics, and so much more by focusing on social and emotional learning and high-quality data through the DESSA system.
All right. And I know in that video it said, I think, reach out to the Aperture platform email there. But the good thing is you don't have to do that because you have myself and you have Nikki. And again, you can reach out to us directly and we're able to provide direct support in implementing the DESA and navigating the Aperture platform. So to digest the video that we just took a look at, just take some time to reflect on the questions below. What is one benefit of implementing the DESA in your LEC setting? But also, what is one fear or concern that you may have in implementing the DESA in your LEC setting? And to begin to really dive into the different logistics of the DESA, we will begin with the roles that Aperture has on their platform. So the initial role that we have here is the site administrator. And the site administrator has full access to all of the student data, rosters, and reports in that particular organization. Then we have the technical advisor. The technical advisor does not have student level data, but they are able to pool or aggregate reports or to provide additional technical support in navigating the Aperture platform. And then we also have the educator. The educator is able to run reports and see student level data, but only for the set of students that they are responsible for. So to apply this to a real life example, in my experience with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio, the site administrator was our VP of programming, and she had full access to reports, data, and ratings for all of the students and the different programs that we had in our organization. We also had our technical advisor, that was our VP of data and evaluation. She was not able to see the individual student level data, but she was able to pull aggregate data that helped inform our programming on a large scale. She was also there to help with any technical assistance, for example, logging into the Aperture platform or navigating it as well. And then we have the educator, which was a match support specialist, or my role. And I was able to only see the student level data, reports, and ratings for the students that I was responsible for at the Windsor STEM Academy. And of course, there is a reason or purpose behind all that we do. So why are we doing the DESA ratings? And that is to ensure that every student has the skills needed to succeed inside and outside of the classroom. And we achieve this by having good data, because good data drives our ability to make good decisions to develop good outcomes in our students. And the way that we're able to obtain good data is through intentional observation of the students at your LEC setting. For this activity, I would like you to take a look at the picture and write just 3 things that you notice. And just take a second, you can jot this down and reflect on 3 things that you notice in this picture. Out of the 3 things that you wrote down, how many of those were negative risk factors? I'm sure there's a lot that you can see in this picture, There's a baby crying in the crib in the corner. Mom is smoking a cigarette. It kind of looks like she's not necessarily paying attention to the kid. She may even be on the phone there. The house does somewhat look in a disarray or looks very messy. So I'm sure there's some negative aspects that you can point out in this picture. Now, I would like you to take a second look. And when looking at it, I would like you to look for some positive things and just take some time to reflect on that. And as sure you saw negative things, I'm sure you're able to also locate some positives as well. The kids all looked well maintained and clean. Their hair is brushed. Mom even has her hair in a roller. So presentation is definitely something that's valued. She even looks like she's reading a book, which I'm sure is helping to enhance her ability to be a parent. Looks like there may be some pizza or food, so at least the kids are being fed, but maybe they're also having like a family meal time. And I'm sure there's more positives that you're able to see in this picture. But the point of this activity was to highlight that as a culture or as people, we tend to look for the negative in things. But the DESA is a strength-based assessment, and we encourage you to be in tune to the positive behaviors as well, compared to looking for the deficits in the students there at your LEC setting. We also want to make sure that we're aware of our own implicit bias. This can come in the form of identity markers such as race, gender, culture, as well as age. An example of that is in my experience working with youth, I tend to be able to connect more easily with the male students versus the female students. And I think this comes organically from being the only girl, or I had all brothers growing up, and now I have all nephews. So I think it's just easier or more organically for me to connect with the male students. So when completing these ratings, I need to be aware of that. Is it that the males are really showing up more in this specific SEL competency? Or is it that as an instructor, I'm not giving the female students an ample amount of opportunity to be able to show off their SEL skill set as well in that specific SEL competency. So as adults, we want to ensure that we're able to change our processes to be able to provide opportunities for growth for all students to be able to demonstrate their SEL skill set, while also being aware there of our implicit bias. And as you're having these intentional observations throughout the rating period there with your students, you also want to ensure that you're able to track your observations down. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have an ample amount of kids. It can be hard to remember, which kid did what on which day, especially when you're sitting down to complete the ratings. So we encourage you to have a system, whether that's texting yourself a reminder. Today, Johnny did really well on a math problem. He kept trying, he didn't give up, and he got the answer. Or maybe keep a post-it note on your desk. So you can write down what you observed and smack it on your desk. So you have a collection there when you're ready to complete the ratings. It's there and prepared for you to use. You could also maybe keep a journal, something that is easier to hold a collective amount of observations, just so that you're able to really track the frequency and have good observations to drive that good data for the reports that we're able to use to drive your instruction. And going into the different forms of the DESA that Aperture provides, we'll first start off with the DESA Mini, and this is the form that we're highlighting for LECs to use. So the DESA Mini is typically given at the beginning of interaction with youth. And it's a universal screener that shows that a specific student will have either strength in their social emotional competence, typical in their social emotional competence, or they show a need in their social emotional competence. So it does cover all 8 of the SEL competencies, but the reports don't go into detail data to focus on an individual SEL competency. And as you can see, we'll go into it deeper here. It has only 8 questions and literally takes 1 minute, so it's not a huge time consumer either. So typically, the rating periods happen between 3 to 4 times a year. And as you can see in this assessment, it says during the past 4 weeks, how often did the child? So you're really looking at during those rating periods in the last 4 weeks, how often did this child exhibit this behavior? And we encourage you to tie that start date to something pivotal on the calendar, whether that's a holiday, spring break is right around the corner. We have St. Patty's Day coming up, maybe the beginning of a grading period, just so when you're reflecting back, you have something to anchor that time frame to, so you can really narrow down the observations that you're tracking and using to complete the readings. And as you can see, this is a 5-point scale with the frequencies based on a never occurrence, rarely, occasionally, frequently, and then very frequently. And we also encourage you as a team to define these thresholds. What exactly is never? Is it that you never see them or they never had the opportunity to show case that SCL competency? Is occasionally a few times? Is it 3 to 4? Also, very frequently, does it happen all the time? So just to ensure that you guys have a cohesive knowledge or decision of exactly what these thresholds or frequencies dictate, which will also help the validity in your data. And as you're going through these different questions here, you can really see that they focus on 1 out of the 8 SEL competencies. So a makeup student, Johnny, we don't want to give out any actual student information. So you can think back, I think 4 weeks ago, we had Valentine's Day. From Valentine's Day to now, did Johnny show good judgment? We can say occasionally, for the most part, Johnny is pretty good at showing good judgment, but there was a couple of times that he got a little frustrated, and that definitely showed in his actions. And that question there focuses on responsible decision making. Take steps to achieve goals. We can say that happens pretty frequently. Johnny definitely asks for help. He's very accountable and ready to learn for his own learning. And he definitely focuses on the ability to be able to achieve goals. Focus on tasks despite problem or distractions. We can maybe say rarely. Even though Johnny is always ready to learn, there are times he gets distracted pretty often, and he'll get out of his seat without asking, or he'll just need a reminder to focus on his work. And you can kind of see the gist that we're going through here. Let's do one more. Learns from experience. We'll go frequently on that. Johnny, in the past 4 weeks from Valentine's Day, he's definitely showed growth and being able to learn from previous challenges that he's had to continue his success in the classroom moving forward. So you just go through each of those questions there to rate the frequency that the child exhibits that behavior. And moving forward, we have the DESSA 40. This is very similar to the DESSA Mini, but the DESSA Mini, again, is a universal screener. So that can really give an indication to the threshold that child will show, whether typical, in need, or strength. But the DESSA 40 will really dive deeper into detailed data and reports to be able to drive your instruction to contribute to development in that specific competency. So the DESSA 40 has 40 questions, and it derives from the full DESSA, which is a 72-item question assessment with 9 questions per competency. But the DESSA 40 comes uniquely from the partnership between City Year and Partnership for Success, as we needed detailed data to be able to drive our instruction, but something that was more time efficient for the raters to be able to complete for the students in their setting. And that's where the DESSA 40 was evolved. So you won't see this commercially advertised on the Aperture platform, but it's something unique to the partnership between City Year and Partnership for Success. And similarly to the DESSA Mini, you will see a list of questions that correlate to one of the one out of the 8 SEL competencies. And similar, the scale, the 5-point Likert scale of the occasions or frequency that it happens: never, rarely, sometimes, often, and very often. And just to highlight even more, when you're completing these ratings on all of the DESA forms that you use, we encourage you to do individual ratings, as in don't do a team rating with the whole team. The rating should be individual to an adult that spends an ample amount of time with that student, being able to have those intentional observations during that rating period. And to dive deeper, even more into the logistics behind the DESA and the purpose of why we use it, we're going to watch a quick video.
The DESSA report gives me a list of students who need some interventions for their social emotional needs. With that list and my relationship that I build with my students, I can go in and find the best intervention that fits their needs at that level.
We're able to identify where students are presently and then monitor their growth throughout the year.
So the intervention strategies are based on research that provide PowerPoints, videos, interactive lessons, as well as allowing students to do artwork and have some self-exploration.
So there are hundreds of strategies that are created by teachers for teachers, which I greatly appreciate because they understand where I'm at. More strategies are constantly added that work for the needs of our students.
The 8 DESA strategies can be used individually with a student. They can be used in small group, whole group, in a classroom setting for the teacher, as well as take-home assignments that they could use in school and out of school.
You can take a strategy and make it your own depending on your student. Not every student is the same, everyone is different. So if you tailor it to a student, it'll fit best for their needs. What I like is that you're not looking everywhere or Googling something. You can look at one spot and you have every idea that you need there, and more are constantly added and it's growing.
We're using things like unconditional positive regard, academic integration with social emotional learning, using growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Those are all things that go into our foundational practices. The importance of social and emotional learning for me is it's the baseline from which you live your whole life.
So coming into my classroom, I make sure that I try to fill them up with every need emotionally, socially.
If I don't have the social competencies or that emotional intelligence to self-regulate, then there's no way that I'm going to be successful.
And when I find something that works, that's what excites me, because I just want to see my kids grow. I just want to build a community, a world of, positive citizens.
I want my students to be personally responsible for their actions and their behaviors, not only as students, but as adults in our society.
It's important for us to make sure we love our kids, and then the teaching happens. The teaching doesn't happen until the love happens in your classroom, until the respect happens in your classroom. And I'm grateful for all these different strategies that help us develop.
And I'm so grateful that I get to spread this message of social and emotional awareness through love and through kindness, so that we can, heal our community one kid at a time, that I can help kids and people help other kids and other people.
All right, I just love that video. I love how it highlights that the teaching doesn't happen until the love happens, and we are able to show our kids our love by helping them develop these needed SEL skills. So now that we have talked about the purpose behind the DESA, how to complete their ratings, let's go ahead and go into the reporting aspect of it. And of course, the reports show detailed data reflecting each out of the 8 SEL competencies. So the DESA uses what we call a normal curve. And you can see in this normal curve that most students, most people fall into this typical threshold, but we do have about 16% who have shown strength in their SEL competence, and also 16% who have shown need for instruction, but most, or about 68%, fall into this typical threshold. And the DESSA also uses T-scores, which is very efficient because a raw score that can be somewhat statistically wrong, but also percentages or percentiles. You can be in the 60th or 90th percentile, but that's very relevant to the individual person. But you also can't average percentages. So the DESSA also uses what we call T-scores. And providers that have more vulnerable youth, you may see a skew in this data. You'll see potentially more students in the need for instruction threshold and less students in the strength threshold. And we continue to look at all reports and data with the lens of continuous improvement. The goal isn't to move all of the kids and the need for instruction into the strength. The goal is to gather data, to get to know our kids, and to use that data to drive our instruction and programming, to develop the SEL competencies within our students. And you can also even see this trend in the SEL ratings over time that we've had here with Partnership for Success. As you can see in the 4 rating periods over the school year, you can see the trend of having 16% in need, a typical amount of 68% of students falling in that typical threshold, and then 16% in strength. That trend also kind of continues over the data that we've collected over time with our ratings and the students in the partnership for success. Diving deeper into that data for the students in Franklin County that are within the Partnership for Success and the reports within their ratings, you can see that there was a growth, an increase in students who scored in that typical to strength threshold, and a decrease in students who showed a need in their SEL competency. And going even more into detail, using that data with the students in Franklin County within the Partnership for Success over the rating period from the initial rating to the final rating, you can see that 98 fewer students demonstrated or showed a need in their SEL competence, which also demonstrates a reduce in conduct problems and depression or anxiety. There was also 20 more students demonstrating strength in their social emotional competence, which also translates to an increase in both grades and test scores. So there's definitely been a growth there in the SEL competence in students in Franklin County within the Partnership for Success partnership. And just to highlight again the purpose of the DESSA and why we use it, the results of the DESSA or DESSA Mini are able to be used to identify strengths and needs of the students, allocate resources, especially your time, which is very vital and needed during this time. It leads to strategies, including strategies that we focused on in previous trainings. And ultimately, it's to help students achieve the skill set to be successful inside and outside of the classroom. And this is all done by having intentional observation, especially over the next few weeks as you begin to complete your ratings. And if there are any further questions or answers that we are able to provide, please feel welcome to reach out to myself or Nikki. We'll have our contact information in the follow-up email, as well as the slides here in our training. And your feedback is valued. It's needed for the work that we are achieving here within our onboardings and trainings. So if there's a particular need that we have not met, or more content on a specific topic that you would like to see, it takes a few seconds. Just use your camera app to snap a pic or a preview of this QR code. We'll also send the link out in the follow-up email. So even if you're watching this at a later time, we encourage you to be able to provide that feedback to ensure that we're best able to support you as an LEC. And just as a reminder, this is your P4S SEL Dream Team, myself and Nikki. Our contact information is listed there. Please, please, please reach out with any additional support that we're able to provide. In addition, please follow up with me after this training so we're able to get you signed up and set up in the Aperture platform to begin to use this awesome tool that we discussed in today's training called the DESSA. And thank you for taking your time out to tune in to our training to obtain valuable information that's benefiting yourself, but also the students there at your LEC setting. Myself and Nikki are very eager and grateful to partner with you and this amazing work that you're able to do. And if there's any additional support that we're able to provide, we are a phone call or email away. Thank you guys. Have a great day.